Ladies and gentlemen, drummers all around the world, welcome here to Drum Channel. Wow, you know, we didn't know this was going to be happening. My pal Mark and my pal Justin and I, we knew we were going to be playing and doing a live show, but who would have thunk my great friend of many years, the virtuoso, the amazing band guy that everybody wants in their band, Carl Parasso, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Carl. And you know, it wouldn't be a Drum Channel show if it weren't for our great friend, Mr. Drum Channel himself. Please join us, will you?
I'm just here to hang out.
You're here to hang out
and have fun with you guys.
Don Lombardi.
Yes.
Don Lombardi.
No, thank you for inviting me in here. I'm going to kind of MC a little bit of what we were doing a little bit earlier today, which was some great secrets of the pros, adding to the ones that you already have on the site, but in a very musical setting. And again, this is the way things happen on Drum Channel. Carl happened to be here a little bit earlier today, and I thought there's a 1 in a million chance, because he's such a busy guy. I said, well, Greg's going to be here, you know, around 1:30. I said, oh, I'll hang out to see him. Then I got to be 3, and I was like, well, we're doing a live show at 6. Is there any? And he was like so gracious. It was like, absolutely, have to be there and do it for sure.
And he's teaching us so much. You know, it's all about learning at Drum Channel. And Carl, being the all-around musician he is, he said, well, let's just do a cumbia. And in my El Gringo way, I said, Carl, you play drum set, come here. And so he came over and he said, okay. He gave me a lesson, a Drum Channel lesson. And he went, okay, the right hand, left foot, bass drum, 1. And then he said, okay, now with your left hand, when I cue you, we'll just jam and we'll raise eyebrows. Go to the left hand playing those upbeats on the bell of the cymbal while your bell goes. So I wrote it all down here on my drum head. Thank you for the lesson, Carl.
You got it. Please use it. It's not mine to keep.
Well, play it now. Come on.
Okay.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Carl Parasso. Man.
Something that we talked about a little bit earlier, which is one of the messages that we wanted to give in several of the lessons that we did, is how congas, which are traditionally thought of as a Latin percussion instrument, really work in all different genres of music, right, Carl?
That's absolutely right. I mean, it's if you listen to old stuff like the Beatles were using them, and bands like that, you know, and it wasn't until really Santana who put the percussion in the forefront of the stage and in the front of the stage. But percussion was used early on, you know, and if it wasn't percussion itself, it had a very percussive feel to it, you know, whether it was claves or maracas or tambourine, some stuff like that. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. And you don't have to play traditional rhythms. You really have to sometimes think out of the box. Sometimes play like you don't know how to play.
Right.
With a very structured way in a very musical form. And what do I mean by that? So, you know, you get a groove like. See, Don, it's not traditional rhythms. It's more of a drum set pattern on the conga drums, because all this information wasn't really available in the Detroit area, where we got Big Black, all the famous guys that really set the tone on these kind of grooves.
Yeah. Benny Benjamin on the drums, and Pistol Allen, Uriel Jones, Eddie Bongo Jefferson.
Absolutely. There it is right there.
These guys were playing jazz gigs at Baker's Keyboard Lounge that we've gone to many times. Mark Nyland and I grew up in Detroit. We'd go see Elvin and Tony and Pancho Sanchez and everybody at Baker's. And then Barry Gordy would hire these guys at 1 a.m. Come over and I'll pay you $10 an hour, $10 per song. You know, these major classical My Girl parts on guitar.
Right.
$10 for the song. But they would do that after their jazz gigs till 5, 6, 7 in the morning on Woodward Avenue in the basement of Motown, Hitsville, USA.
And I think what happened is it just became, it's amazing how this works, because rhythm, sound, vibration becomes contagious, and it spawns groups like the Rascals.
Yeah.
Grooving. Hey. Hey. It's not so much a dedicated rhythm as it is to a dedicated groove. These are grooves that make people dance, that get up and hug each other, to where you remember when you hear this song, you remember your first kiss, you remember the first dance you went to. These are the good feelings that remind us of our special time in life.
You better believe it. Growing up in Detroit, I remember the first time I was really loving life and dancing to drums and congas was the breakdown on either I Want You Back or ABC, where it goes.
Man,
hey,
what a groove.
Girl.
Yeah.
Like and I just went, wow, what is that?
And just that alone makes a great bed. Oh, that's a good sandwich.
Yeah.
You talked about Motown. I'm going to quiz you on that because we did something a little bit earlier. But first, I do want to welcome everybody who's watching us on Facebook and encourage them to go to beta.drumchannel.com. It'll take you about 3 seconds in order to register, and you'll be able to see the whole new Drum Channel site, everything that we've got on it. Greg happens to have a school professor on Drum Channel.
Yes, sir.
Carl has lessons and is going to come back and do more with us for sure. So definitely check it out, beta.drumchannel.com. It's the new Drum Channel website, and we have a whole bunch of new features and exciting things. I don't want to take time telling you about them all now. Maybe at the end of this you'll hear me talking about them. But Motown, we talked about that. James Brownfield. A little bit earlier we did something where we showed what the essence of what the percussion did to the groove, where you played a little bit with and without.
Yeah, we'll start without maybe, and then we'll add Carl in, right?
Let's try that. Yeah.
And I didn't get to really give you full names here. We got Justin Panariello on the bass, Mark Nyland on keyboards, and of course Carl Perazzo and Lombardi.
Clapping.
I'm the only frog in the bunch here. I'm like French and English, French, English, Irish, Dutch, and
Oh, your soup.
and now I'm a soup. Yeah. So what was it? Was it like a? What was the tempo we were doing? We'll play first without Carl, and then we'll add him in, and you'll see how it kicks it up a notch. 2, 1, 2. Don Lombardi, hit me one time. Hit me 2 times. 7 times. Ah! Don Lombardi.
We rehearsed that all afternoon, just to be sure we got that right. But what we did do all afternoon, because I know you're back there, out there listening to this, wanting to do the same thing I would want to do right now, which is like get behind my drums and play it. We did do play-alongs. That's what this was all about.
We did.
And broke down a lot of these patterns in this same way. How the congas add to that genre, which is a genre you might not think that they would participate in usually in a traditional Latin band. And something you talked about earlier is when you're playing without a percussionist, how you might approach certain patterns, because we have specific lessons on the site about that, but we don't actually have them with both instruments present. And then when you're playing, how you would, if in a Latin band with a drum set, what you might be doing and what you might not be doing. Picking a particular, a basic Latin pattern and maybe try that.
We went through the really quick rumba, the cachao.
Yeah.
Do you want to lead us on something that we can dissect a little bit?
Yeah,
Is that where you're
yeah.
going? Like what would I play and what would these guys play? You were our musical director there. Would you be
Okay,
into
so
that?
boom, 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 boom. You got that?
Man, oh man, oh man.
That's a lot more than I asked for, by the way, but thank you very much.
Could I just ask, because the 3 of us were just checking out these incredible LP congas of Carlos Carl. Could you tell us a little bit about those? Those look incredible.
These are very, very special. It's the Sugar Skull congas. I was inspired by our culture of Dia de los Muertos and the meaning behind it all. I don't want to spend too much time on it. We have a lot of music, but this is based on our ancestors. It all comes from the bottom, comes up, and supports me on top. This is the closest I can get to it.
Familia.
Familia, family, right?
Yeah, man. That's what it's all about. And you mentioned earlier, you wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be who you are if it weren't for the Familia
That's
all the way
exactly-
up. You're representing everybody.
Yeah, and I channel all that.
It
I
shows.
channel. So
Drum channel it.
yeah, we're.
How important,
Hey!
I know you feel this way, for a lot of the younger students, to go back, generations, decades, and understand where it all came from, as opposed to just trying to learn how to play a pattern, as opposed to feeling what that is.
That's a great, great question. And sometimes in your life, there's going to come a time where you have to lose yourself to find yourself. And to really grasp the feeling of a groove. I encourage you, don't play what you hear, play what you know. Do all the research you can, what it means to play. It's everything. Every note is a million notes. Just visit it. Notes are like people. Sometimes you got to visit them. That's the best way I can put it.
Could I
think
make
it's-
an observation? You know, when Carl plays, a lot of drum set players are guilty of just not having the passion and playing from their heart. And when Carl played that, before he played it, he just took a little breath and looked at his drums and went, and he played it, and it was passion. It was oozing with passion. It was oozing with groove. And from the minute he played his first note, you knew where the groove was, and it was just aggressive,
Steve Gadd.
passionate,
Steve
and
Gadd.
right there.
Steve Gadd.
Steve Gadd, man.
Beat one.
Yeah.
Beat one. He's been playing for 20 minutes somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah,
One beat one. It's there.
yeah. He didn't just go, oh, I'll play a groove. No, he goes, just the way Carl did that. It's passionate, it's direct, it's meant to be. You know,
It's meant
like,
to be. It is. It is. It's part of you, right? And what we're doing now is we're talking through our instruments, right? So it's your voice. It's your I like to say your fingerprint, because it's very unique. We all have a different. But I think that all the pros and all the guys that know how to listen, not players but listeners, know when either you got it or you don't got it. It's just a spiritual conversation. But let's stick with adapting or applying conga drums to a groove. Sometimes you don't have to play a lot. I know you might hear a lot, and that's great, but sometimes you have to put a leash on your brain.
what about the chain and the anchor? Can you talk about that?
Sometimes drums and bass is the anchor. And I like to look at myself as the chain. The anchor set, and the chain lets it breathe, lets it move. Like the palm tree. The bottom is sturdy, but the top moves so the tree doesn't snap. This is important. This is how we create swing. Now, most people, well, man, swing. Maybe one guy has it and the other guy doesn't. It's an interpretation of, but music is interpretation. So, do a little swing groove. Now, I can't go. Can't do that. I can't do that. I gotta really feel where he's at. Yeah. Give me some walking music, buddy. You see, it's in jazz, it's in everything. But the history of jazz comes out of African music. So if you hear ding, 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 the 6/8, keep playing, and jazz is here. Eh. Or 6/8. Give me some walking music.
ask
play
you.
that. You could take rhythms like that, like boom, dun, dun, ding, dun, 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 ding. Straighten it out. Dun, 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 dun. Make it this little cha-cha. Stay there, stay there.
Should have done one more. Hey, you remember you were asking us about the go-go beat, and you said, now, what if you play it straight, and what if you play it swing? We did a lot of interaction. When Carl would swing it more, I'd play straight, and then when you play straighter, I'd swing it on the hi-hat. Could we show
Yeah,
that
it's
a
all
little?
dictated on interpretation of feel, right? And this is where we step into music improvisation, but with a structured knowledge of where you're at all times, right? So. Check it out. He's playing straight on the hi-hat. Now, I'm going to change my part to a traditional bata part, rhythm part, and I want you to play the bubblies and all that, the flicks and the flimsies over there.
You got it.
So, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, Carl.
What do you think, Don?
It's all the difference in the world. Really, it's amazing.
And that's a bata rhythm, right?
That's a bata rhythm, yeah.
And you know, one of the things that's so exciting about having you guys here, on Drum Channel, we teach technique because obviously you have to learn how to play the instrument. You're just talking back and forth. The last thing you're thinking about, it's so obvious up here, is how you're doing what you're doing. It's flowing through you. And that's what we want to do, is allow young students out there practice their technique and get facility. That's the greatest teachers that I've known through the years. They always use that word. You have a lot of technique, that's good because then you'll be able to play a lot of things, but you have the facility to play anything that you're hearing.
And I notice so many young players especially, they don't play with a percussionist. They don't play with a bass player, a piano player, a guitar player. They sit in their room and they play by themselves. And now you'll have some play-alongs to play with, but it's about playing with music. These two guys right here, we had no idea what chords we were going to do. They just listened so well to each other. They're over here, what do you want to do? E, A minor, okay, here. But then and they're changing it all around because they've grown up playing with other musicians. Like Carl's grown up in the Bay Area and all over the world playing with other musicians. That's what it's about. Getting that. Like I talked to Ringo and I said, man, you know, so when you first started playing, he says, let me tell you, I never sat down on the drums by myself. I only played when I was playing with other people. I said, you didn't just sit down and figure stuff out? And he said, why would I? That's not why I play. I play to play with musicians and to feel the love of other musicians and making music together. That's what a lot of times is kind of missing with younger players. Wouldn't you agree?
No question. And you know, the industry's kind of taken in that direction because a lot of recording is happening where people are not in the same room. I think you had a classic line I use, which is like, I did this project and it came out great. The only problem was the band never came together at one place at the same time.
Yeah, they email the files, you know, PDFs of the charts, MP3s of the tracks, MIDI file stems, you record your drums, they take a picture off your website, and there's the CD, and you've never met anybody, right? You guys have all done this.
Yeah, pajama sessions we call them.
Yeah.
Pajama sessions.
Listening is one of the things that Abe Sr. mentioned that a couple times here on the site, and it's a kind of a mantra. Drummers, musicians are professional listeners, you know, and...
What'd you say?
I needed a padum crash there. Right.
Yeah.
Before they go deaf, that is. Then they got another problem altogether. They're not professional visionaries either, because I know you need glasses. But
I do. Who are you?
Yeah, exactly.
It was great when we had, you know, some cue cards for great, and they did no good at all.
Yeah.
It's like he pretended like he was reading something that was there,
Yeah.
but it didn't really work.
I have glasses, I just don't wear them.
There you go.
To have 4 great musicians here and 2 of the greatest percussionists in the world. One's playing drum set right now. One is actually playing.
I have one of the
percussion.
longest names in the business. One of the world's drummers right here. But this is one of the greatest
Oh, no.
percussionists
Yeah,
ever.
just
Yeah,
another
come
Flying
on.
Garden.
And you're a great drummer.
You know what?
Dad.
I'd like to touch on technique.
Yes.
I'd like to touch on a little bit about technique, about what you said. You know, technique. When you learn about technique, because I grew up just hitting the drum, and the philosophy that I use is I practice on wood. Mongo Santa Maria told me practice on wood, practice on wood, and this philosophy was to take the tone. That if you could get the tone out of the wood, you can get the tone out of any drum. But it wasn't so much technique. Technique helps you cut the corners with your soul to really get things across to where it's not as difficult to play. If you go like to a Mozambican, which is kind of, that's a very, if you're a beginner, if you're playing the New York style Mozambican, just this, utilizing your left hand twice is because you start to lead and you start kind of fumbling. And it's just not a matter of, you know, learning it, but if you have the technique, then you'll be able to get those tones that you need too. So the vocabularies, right? It does help. Technique does help. But a lot of the Afro-Cuban instruments, we really didn't have technique. You know, the timbales coming from the European descent, you know, obviously they came from the kettle drum, the timbales, and they played the danza, which is now the danzón. And so there was a certain amount of technique, but it was very slow rhythm, so it's not like marchers, right? So what a technique will do is alleviate you from playing with all your muscles like this. Technique will help you get those sounds. All that kind of stuff. So technique is important, but it's very hard to learn technique because everyone has their own. Like I noticed your where your grip is down here.
Yeah.
See? And that's not my technique on timbales. Mine is the pinch.
Yeah.
You know, even Joey Heredia told me, man, change it, man. Come down here and hold the stick, let the stick. but we play different types of music. So you have to learn the technique that's going to be adapt for you. But I would suggest learning them all. That way you're a double-edged sword.
No kidding.
Wouldn't you agree?
And yeah, I totally agree. And the thing with drumming too is a lot of drummers play stiff and they need operations on their hands and they're not letting their wrists move and they're not staying loose. And a lot of times you can redline the drums. The idea is to hit a drum and to pull the sound out. I see guys starting from here, and certain gigs require that. Certain metal gigs, you got to just play till your hands bleed. But the bottom line, and I kind of learned this from Ringo and our drum tech Jeff Chonas, they said, you know, one of the greatest things about Ringo is he pulls the sound out of the drums. He's not going, he's pulling the sound out because you don't want to redline the drums. And Ringo's got this swing. Keltner, our good friend, once was talking about Ring. He says, Ring, you got that swing. And even if he's playing a straight eighth note song, he'll put in a swingy fill. And the hi-hat going back and forth like this, it's not. Lightly have an undercurrent of a bass drum. So many drummers play fills and they don't play their bass drum. Well, that bass drum, if your bass guitar and your bass drum's coming out of the 18-inch subs and all of a sudden you go up here and you do a fill, you lose that bottom end. Ringo will play eighth notes and groove, make the fill have a percolation under it, an undercurrent. Listen to the difference between something under it and something not under it. Here's not under it. That's technique to me. That's just knowing that's coordination, it's technique, but not hitting so hard that it sounds stiff. It's got a swing to it, like Carl's talking about.
Two quick career questions. A lot of people watching obviously do know, especially our Drum Channel fans out there. You mentioned Ringo a lot because you are...
Oh, I get to be the other drummer. Ringo's the drummer, right? But I get to, since 2008, 10 years I've been in the Ringo and the All-Star Band, and then since 2003, Ringo and the Roundheads, his band when he does an album and he plays on TV shows. So now this is coming up on 15 years of where Mark Nyland is. There's Ringo, and I just stare at him every night. We've got Greg Raleigh in the band, so we do Oye Como Va, Black Magic Woman, Evil Ways, Everybody's Everything. We got Richard Page from Mr. Mister. We'll do Kyrie and Broken Wings. Steve Lukather from Toto. We'll do Rosanna, Africa, Hold the Line. Todd Rundgren, bang on the drum all day. I see the light. I saw the light. You know, Love Is the Answer. And then Ringo right here singing Boys and I Want to Be Your Man, and going up front. And when he goes up front, my job is to try to have that swing that he has. But the most fun is when he's right here and he's playing right next to me, and I just say, I saw the Beatles. I'm 58. When I was 7 in 1966, I saw the Beatles at Olympia Hockey Arena in Detroit where the Red Wings played. And I put on those headphones and I played those grooves. Right here is his snare. My goal is don't flam with Ringo. It's my mantra, you know.
Which is, now, double drumming is an art unto itself.
It's very hard to play. It's a lot easier when you're not playing the exact same, like, I don't know, 2 conga players or 2 sets of timbale players. It's not as easy. 2 sets of drums, it's not as easy. It's much easier when you're complementing each other sonically. When you've got the same instrument, you gotta really, like Carl said, you gotta listen. It's all about listening. If I even see his eyebrow go up and he's gonna do a fill, he leads with his left because he's on a righty kit leading with his left. If I even see that he's gonna do a fill, I will not fill. He's the alpha dog, man. He's Ringo, you know, so I'm there to support. And a lot of times he'll just lean over and say, okay, take this, you know, and double drums, you gotta listen so much and be so sensitive.
First time I saw Ringo double drumming was
probably Concert for Bangladesh.
You got it,
with
absolutely.
Jim Keltner.
Exactly, you got the winning answer right there.
Yeah.
You talked a little early, Carl, about how important it was for you to sync with the drummer's left hand.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a testament to who you're going to be in the future as a musician, not just a percussionist. You know, they used to be back in the day, oh, we're the last to be hired and first to be fired. Erase that message now. Erase that. That doesn't work now. We're in the forefront. You could tell we're in a leading company. But the thing is to listen and to have respect for what the drummer's doing. Just because you know a lot doesn't mean that you have to play a lot. Less is more.
Different drummers. I think the video we played when we opened up the show today was Gannon Arnold, which was Taylor Hawkins' band actually, but them playing Gannon Arnold tunes. We had 5 drummers on there, world-class drummers.
Wow.
I had all of them play one song without having heard how the other drummer played it. Jimmy Chamberlain, Gary Novak, Terry Bozzio, Taylor. And they were 5 different songs. I mean, the feeling that each one of those drummers put to the song gave that song, you know, a different feeling. And their time feels were different too. I think somebody said when Simon played, it was like, you know, we thought maybe he went out for a cup of tea there between bars for a moment, you know. And yet Gary was like, you know, fusion right there, and Taylor is like, you know, right on top. So the idea of listening back and forth, I think it's important for students to know, you know, you're not just looking at where he's thinking he's coming down. It's trying to dial into the feel that where is he feeling what he's playing, right? Yeah. Emotionally connecting together.
Yeah.
And when I listen to Carl, I mean, I'd any day of the week, I'd much rather play any gig listening to that pulse, that percolation. He adds so much passion that you can play anything and you go, okay, it isn't just me that has to percolate the groove and keep it steady. His time is impeccable, and the feel is so great. And I know both these guys' time is impeccable. It's just like, okay, let's just have fun. And it just makes it so great. It just lifts it up.
Speaking of have fun, we're getting close to running out of time.
You said we could do 2 hours.
We did it. We did. I said we could do all night up into tomorrow too. This has been like a total amazing fun day for me. You did a 2/3 songo a little bit earlier, which I was, you know, really had fun listening to. You want to do that again for a little bit here and see what we do to close out?
You had a great bass line that you were singing, right? What tempo did we do? Do you remember? Yeah.
You get to hear the rehearsal live here at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Outside. Yeah.
get better than that. Thank
What a
you
blast.
so much. Guys, thank you for joining us here tonight. Greg, of course. And what a pleasant surprise,
Man.
Carl.
Thank you, guys.
Whoa.
Unbelievable.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
so
What a
much.
pleasure and
Right.
honor to be. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the lesson, the cumbia lesson.
Hey.
Hey,
Yeah, they're giving lessons to each other here. It's a ball.
he's giving lessons to me.
It's a brotherhood. It's a brotherhood.
I
here.
thank you for joining us tonight. Check out the new beta.drumchannel.com. Of course, we give you a lot of lessons. That's a real important part of the site. That's one of our passions, to help you with your playing. The other thing is our entertainment shows. How cool is it to hang out with two of the best, just hang out tonight with two of the best drummers in the world? We allow you to do that because that's what we're all about, and that's why we're having fun here. And thank you guys. Can't thank you enough for joining us.
Our
to do
Grand
that.
Poobah.
So,
It wouldn't be Drum Channel without Don Lombardi. Our Grand Poobah.
thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Check out everything we've got. Over 250 shows, over 800 lessons, beta.drumchannel.com. We'll see you next time. Get practicing. Come on. Get play-alongs. Get working
Let's
on these
do
things.
it, huh?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Can we do a little walkout samba?
Come
yeah,
on.
do it. You got it.